Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Chapter 1 of the Book of Boba Fett, which is entitled Stranger in a Strange Land. And before going any further, I need to mention that there will be spoilers in this review, so if you haven't watched this episode, then you probably shouldn't be watching this video unless you really want to be spoiled. With that out of the way, let's get on with the review. Chapter 1 begins at Jabba's palace on Tatooine, and it pretty much assumes that the audience has already seen the end credit sequence from Mando Season 2, where Boba Fett kills Bib Fortuna and takes over Jabba's criminal operation. So I'm going to talk about this episode in two parts. First, the present-day timeline, and then later on in the video I'm going to cover the flashbacks, which occur whenever Boba is in the Bacta healing chamber. The first session of healing that we see is interrupted by Fennec Shand, who wakes up Boba so that he can hold court with a bunch of people who want to pay tribute to the new crime lord. And we get this cool sequence where Fett is putting on his armor with help of several droids, so that's pretty interesting. We then cut to the throne room where Boba and Fennec are being presented with several visitors who've come to pay their respects. This sort of meet and greet session is hosted by 8D8, who was formerly Jabba the Hutt's torture droid in Return of the Jedi, so that's a nice little cameo. One of the visiting dignitaries is a representative of the mayor of Mos Espa, and although he seems friendly enough, he's also pretty arrogant. He brings no tribute and actually wants Boba Fett to pay him. Fett offers only the gift of not killing him, and he sends him on his way. As he leaves, he gives a not-so-veiled threat of a visit from another delegation, so that's pretty ominous. Also in the sequence, two Gamorrean guards are brought to supposedly be torture victims, but Boba decides to spare their lives if they pledge their loyalty to him, as they had previously done for Jabba the Hutt and Bib Fortuna. And they do. Next we cut to Mos Espa, as Boba, Fennec, and the two Gamorreans walk through the street, and they visit a sort of upscale version of the cantina. This establishment is run by a character named Madame Garza, and Fett informs her that he has replaced Bib Fortuna and assures her that things are going to be business as usual for her operation. And they leave with Boba's helmet filled with New Republic credits. After leaving, Boba and Fennec have a conversation about his intentions to rule with respect instead of fear. But this conversation is cut short when they're suddenly assaulted by a group of assassins with weapons and shields. They surround Boba and Fennec, and a fight ensues. With the help of the Gamorreans, they fight them off, but Boba gets injured in the battle, so Fennec runs off in a rooftop chase after the two assassins. She knocks one of them off the roof and then captures the other alive, presumably for questioning. The Gamorreans bring Boba back to the palace and return him to the Bacta chamber. And that pretty much concludes the present-day portion of the story for this particular episode. So the real meat of this episode is in the flashbacks. They begin with flashes of the planet Kamino, which was Boba Fett's home at the time of Episode 2. We also see a scene where young Boba is holding Jango's helmet after his father was killed by Mace Windu at the Battle of Geonosis. We then cut to Boba inside the belly of the Sarlacc, and I gotta tell you, I was thrilled to see this because I think all of us really wanted to see actually how he escaped death after falling into the pit in Return of the Jedi. So what happens is he discovers an Imperial stormtrooper who has also fallen into the pit. And he uses the trooper's oxygen supply to get some breathable air. And then he punches a hole through the side of the Sarlacc's belly and ignites his flamethrower to burn his way out. We then see him burst through the sand above the pit and slowly crawl his way out. But at this point he's obviously burned and exhausted, so he quickly collapses in the sand. We then cut to a nighttime scene where the Jawa sandcrawler arrives, and the Jawas proceed to strip the armor and jetpack off of Boba's helpless body, which directly ties into the Mandalorian episode where Cobb Vanth tells the story of how he acquired the armor from the Jawas. So that's pretty cool. Then we cut to a daytime shot in the middle of a sandstorm, and a group of Tusken Raiders approach Fett's body, and they tie his hands and lead him on a long march through the hot desert. He eventually collapses behind the Banthas, and they end up dragging him the rest of the way to the Tusken tribe's village. We then see the ruthlessness of these sand people as they torture and starve Boba and another captive prisoner who's a Rodian, same species as Greedo. Fett attempts to escape by cutting his ropes and then knocking out one of the guard dogs, but he doesn't get very far before he's caught and forced into a fight with one of the Tusken warriors. which he ends up losing. So, imprisoned again, Fett and the Rodian are led on a march through the desert by one of the Tusken children. I'm guessing this child might be the son of the leader of the tribe, but it really isn't established at this point. During this journey through the desert, they come across a homestead that is being attacked by a different group of raiders, who definitely aren't Sand People. So that's interesting, and I'm wondering how this is going to play out in future episodes. The march through the desert ends, and the Tusken child makes his two prisoners dig in the sand for these little nodules that contain water. Boba eventually finds one and proceeds to take a drink, which upsets the young Tusken very much. After more digging, the Rodian uncovers the claw of a creature buried in the sand. The creature awakens and starts attacking them, eventually killing the Rodian. The one thing I noticed about the design of this creature is that it was definitely inspired by the work of legendary stop-motion artist Ray Harryhausen, looking similar to the creature from Venus in 20 Million Miles to Earth, and also the Kraken from Clash of the Titans. So that's a kind of a nice tribute. Boba fights off this creature and manages to get his chain wrapped around its neck, and he strangles it to death, saving the young Tusken child. They return to the village with the creature's head, and the child tells this fantastic story of their victory. At this point, Boba has obviously earned the respect of the tribe's leader, and the episode ends with him handing Boba a well-earned drink of water. Overall, I thought this episode was amazing, a really excellent way to begin the series by answering at least some of the questions about the circumstances which led to how we find Boba Fett in Mando Season 2. The flashback sequences have the feeling of an old-style Western film, which Robert Rodriguez really nails in terms of his direction. The present-day sequences are more like a mafia-type film with assassination attempts and a lot of plotting. I'll be interested to see if Boba manages to win them over with respect, or if he fails and is forced to go in full-on attack mode and rule by fear, very much like Jabba the Hutt did. I'm guessing it's going to be the latter of those two scenarios. I'm also excited for more flashbacks, and it seems from what we've seen in the trailers that we will be getting more, including a scene at Tachi Station, so that's going to be a nice callback to the original film. I'm also loving the journey of this character as he struggles to regain his former strength, and also how he apparently learned some valuable lessons from his time among the Sand People of Tatooine. It's really the mark of good storytelling to have a character lose and then sink to the lowest level and then have to work their way back to a position of power. So I'm very excited for the next chapters in this series. That's pretty much all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more reviews of Star Wars series like the Book of Boba Fett, think about subscribing because I will be covering more of this kind of stuff in the future. So stay tuned. Until next time, I hope you're having a great day, and may the Force be with you. Thanks for watching.